Hi everybody, this is Ms. Raina. We're going to talk about horizontal asymptotes, domain, and range for exponential functions. So an asymptote is an invisible line that the graph of the exponential function approaches but never touches. We never touch the asymptote. Okay, so if you look at the picture that we're given, there is a dotted gray line right here. That is the asymptote. Notice as the graph starts getting closer and closer to that asymptote, it starts to do what we call flatlining. Okay, it's going to get so close to zero, but it will never actually touch zero. So the equation of the horizontal asymptote is y equals, and it's the number the asymptote crosses the y-axis. So it's crossing right here at -3. So our equation for the asymptote would be y equals -3. Since it is horizontal, it is always y equals. Okay, now we're going to use that asymptote to help us with the domain and range. So domain is all possible x values for the graph. We read it from left to right. Left to right. The range is all possible y values. We read that from bottom to top. Okay, so to help us out, we have Dr. XY. Remember the D is over X, so that tells us that domain is our X's. And R is over the Y, which tells us that our range are our Y values. So if we're looking at this for the domain, I'm going to zoom in some. Notice that I have an arrow that's going to tell me it's going to keep going to the left forever, and an arrow that's going up, but that arrow also keeps going to the right forever. So the domain for exponential functions is all real numbers. Okay, looking at this one. Again, it has an arrow that means it's going to keep going to the left forever and ever, and it's going to keep slowly approaching to the right forever and ever. So again, the domain is all real numbers. The domain for all exponential functions is always all real numbers. Okay, the only thing that's going to change is the y values. So this is where the asymptote is going to come in to help us. So if we look at this equation, and I'm going to go ahead and change my color. Okay, or we look at this graph, notice that it starts to flatline around right here. That is going to be our asymptote. Okay, now if we could actually zoom in on the graph, we would see that it never actually touches it. It just gets so close to it. So we need to know what that y value is on the y-axis. So it looks like it's -3. So our asymptote would be y equals -3. And we're going to use that to help us. So all of my y values are going up from -3. So all my y values are greater than -3. Now the reason we do not put a line underneath is because you never actually touch the asymptote, and the asymptote's at -3. So it gets so close to it, but it never can touch -3. So the asymptote will not have or for the range, we will not have the or equal to attached to it. Okay, looking at the next one. So again, I have an asymptote that's right here. Okay, notice that's where this graph starts to kind of flatline. So if I'm looking at it, that asymptote I'm going to say is y equals +3. Now, all of my y values are getting less than that because they're going down from there. So my y values are less than +3. Again, the reason we don't have the or equal to attached is because you can never touch the asymptote, so it cannot be included in the range of values. Okay, so now we're going to do just some more practice identifying the horizontal asymptote, the domain, the range. Well, before you even do anything, you should notice if there's arrows or not. So these have arrows on them, okay, which means our domain is going to be all real numbers. Okay, the horizontal asymptote is going to be where it starts to flatline. So I'm going to use a highlighter for this one to see. Actually, no. Let's see. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in. So notice where it starts to flatline right here. Okay, that is going to be our horizontal asymptote. Okay, our graph of the exponential function starts to go flat there. That would be at y equals, this is 1. So we're going to say the line is y equals 1. It is always y equals and whatever number it crosses the x-axis at. Okay. Then we're going to look at the range. Again, we use the horizontal asymptote to help us. Now, all of my y values are going up from 1. So all my y values are greater than 1. Again, it can't be or equal to because you can't touch the asymptote. So it gets really close to 1 and it approaches 1, but it never touches it. Looking at the next one. Okay, we're going to start with the horizontal asymptote. So again, we're looking where it flatlines. It starts to flatline around right here. So our horizontal asymptote would be this line right there. So that would be -8. So our horizontal asymptote is y equals -8. The domain, again, it has arrows, which means it's all real numbers. Okay, our range, it's going up. So all my y values are greater than -8. And again, we always use that value from the asymptote. And again, it's not or equal to because you can never touch the asymptote. Never touch the asymptote. Okay, looking at the last one. The horizontal asymptote is where it starts to flatline. So it looks like it's starting to flatline right here on that x-axis, which means it's y equals 0. The domain, again, we have arrows. So it is all real numbers. And the reason I'm saying arrows is because sometimes if it has endpoints, open circles or closed circles, then it's not going to be all real numbers. So we have to keep that in mind. Okay, now my range, my y values are going down from 0. So all of my y values are less than 0. Okay, so if you have any questions, please make sure you ask your teacher. We're here to help you. The new thing that is from this topic is the asymptote. And again, it's just an invisible line that our exponential function is going to approach, but it can never touch or cross it. So if you have any questions, please ask. Other than that, have a great day, Rangers.